Can I? Oh, here we are. Good afternoon and welcome. You're listening live to Heart, a program which aims to help you understand and to become your loving self. I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sexologist in full-time private practice. And I'm here along with my business partner, my colleague, my mentor, my best friend for the past 17 years, Dr. Robert Jaffe, who's also a psychotherapist and he's a certified hypnotherapist as well. And I will let him introduce himself further. And I just want to say thank you for joining us at this hour. And this is our new time and in the show. And we love to, having you with us. And we thank you for being here. And I'd like to invite you to please call us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from your experience. We want to know about your stories because your stories are unique. And therefore, they're teaching us, they're telling us, more about you and more what we can do for you. And also, this is how we learn from each other. I learn from you, Dr. Jaffe learns from you, and then, and this is how we collaborate. And this is how we connect. This is how we understand each other. And this is how we move forward in a compassionate way, which is the topic of today. So welcome, Dr. Jaffe.
Thank you. So we want to let you know that we are dedicating this program to you, our listeners. And we here believe that we come to this world with many fine qualities. And the qualities that we bring with us are the qualities that make us feel unique, special, and also make us feel as though we fit in with others because we all are much more alike than we are different. And if people could remember that, it would serve us and serve the world in a very powerful way.
Right.
So what are some of the qualities that we come to the world with? We have the ability to be our authentic true selves. And who is that? It's an energy that we bring into the world. We are energy. Everything actually is energy. And we all have many fine qualities. We come in with great curiosity, all of us. We also come in with the ability to be trusting. When we are trusting, when we come in, we trust that there's going to be a welcoming ceremony and we're all going to be happy and welcomed. We all come in wanting to be honest, actually. We have to learn how to lie, and we do learn how to lie when we feel it's not safe to be honest. But we enjoy being honest, and when we are honest, we feel the best. We all come in as sexual beings. We don't have to hide it. We can celebrate it. It's wonderful to have sexual feelings, and it's wonderful to share sexual feelings with people that we are close to and we care about. And then the subject of today's show is we all come in with the ability to be compassionate. I've seen it very clearly with my new, almost brand new 3-year-old granddaughters. They are compassionate. When somebody gets injured physically or they get their feelings hurt, they try to comfort each other. And we do too. We want to comfort each other, and we want to be comforted when we need it. And with that, we will move into the topic a little more deeply today. And again, please give us a call, 951-922-3532. And feel free to share your experiences, your comments, your questions, and anything else that you'd like to bring to the table. We're here to listen and to reflect.
Exactly. And, when it comes to compassion, you and I do lots of couples therapy.
We do.
Right. And, it's a skill. It's something that we either learn about it or we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we know today that whatever we focus on grows.
Correct.
Right. Why is that? Because from neuroscience perspective, We know that our mindset, we set our mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
We focus on negativity, we go down, and our creativity, our sense of love, our sense of, compassion, everything dies with it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We focus on positivity, we go to the growth, we go to creativity, we go to, enjoyment, we go to productivity, we go to experience, and then what happens? We feel love, we feel compassion, we feel energetic, we feel good,
And we feel connected.
and we feel connected,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So, it's something that we learn through our life, and our upbringing definitely has a, direct impact on that. That how am I going to feel? Am I a loving person? Am I a lovable person?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to learn that I am not a lovable person,
Right.
right? And so we don't learn to see maybe I am lovable or maybe I'm not lovable.
Mm-hmm.
We go either or, and this is where that, it's a place that we become, either I'm not a lovable or I am lovable.
Well, I think we
Right.
tilt in one direction or another.
Yeah.
I do think that we can feel both. In that at moments we can feel lovable, and at other moments we can feel not lovable. But I do think we have an overall feeling of lovability, or an overall feeling of unlovability.
Unlovability.
Right.
Yes. So, when it comes to self-compassion, we want to ask ourselves, uh, how the self-compassion or the lack of it basically, impacts our relationships, impacts ourselves as individuals first.
Right.
Right. And then how do we bring that lack of compassion and the impact of it on us as an individual into our relationship? And we see that. Why is this important? Because we see people come in and they say, he did this to me, she did this to me, and the case goes on, and they want us to side with either or. Right.
That's something that does happen pretty frequently.
Pretty frequently.
So
yes.
let's I think to start with, I think we first have to begin by defining self-compassion.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I see you have something written down. It looks pretty good. It says self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself kindly, even when you fail.
Even when you fail.
Even when you fail.
And that's, self-compassion 101.
That's self-compassion 101. And I'm going to say that I'm going to actually make it a little stronger. It's the process of treating yourself kindly, especially when you fail.
And I have a very good example of this, and I'm going to reveal something about myself, which I never thought I would say that on the air, but I'm going to say it. It's a very, very perfect example of, of compassionate approach and self-compassion and what I learned from it. I remember years ago when I was in the process of getting licensed, I failed my exam when I moved here with you.
You did.
Right? And I was feeling devastated because I said, what, how did I fail such a simple example? And to me, that was a simple example, but actually it wasn't. But then again, this is how, I think I had to, manage and be successful in every approach. So when I called you and I told you, guess what? I failed. You said, oh, okay, so let's go out for dinner, and celebrate that.
Yes.
And my jaw was dropping. I said, are you kidding me? I failed such an important exam, and now you want to take me out for dinner, right? And then when I went to dinner with you, and we started, just enjoying the quietness of the place. And actually, it wasn't so quiet, but anyway, I don't know why I felt it was quiet, And we started having dinner. We had a glass of wine, and I kind of, was able to calm down. And I said, "Oh my God, this feels so good. So what that I failed the exam,
Right.
Look how I'm being treated, like so compassionately, so lovingly." And what a compassionate person, you have been.
Oh.
And realistically, I learned that it's the meaning that I give to the situations and the meaning that happens. And I can make myself feel good, or I can make myself feel bad about whatever happens. So an exam is not my life. It wasn't my life, right? And so I could have easily treated myself, by beating myself up, and I said, "Oh my God, you failed such a exam, and what do you do now? Now you have to wait for another 6 months," and so on and so on, and go with the negativity, and make myself feel miserable for a month or so, right? But your compassionate approach, right, showed me that how I need to be kind to myself, and how to accept the love that comes to me, and feel the love and feel loving towards myself, right?
Right.
And this is a very good example that we just said it. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself kindly, even when you fail.
Especially
when
we fail.
Right.
Right, because failure is nothing more than a learning experience.
Yes.
So and actually the truth is we learn usually more from failing than we do from succeeding.
From succeeding. And one thing that you told me was, I still remember it, so you pass the next time.
Yeah.
Like,
or not.
Or not.
Or not. Yeah. Because even though of course we want to pass, and we want all of the things that go with passing, it like you were saying, it's not the end of your life. Each time we fail, we build inside of us more resilience if we're kind to ourselves.
Right.
And then it becomes less scary to try things. Then because if we have resilience, then when we try things, the worst that happens is we fail, but it's not that big a deal. Or it can be even a positive thing to say, okay, I failed, and obviously I need to study this more, or I need to learn more about that.
Yeah, what am I learning from my failing?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And what do I need to build on? And we bring that into our relationships, right? People say, you said this, and I said that, and I want to do that, but you did this, you did that, you said that. So they continue to kind of attack each other back and forth. Versus what I usually invite my couples to do, I say to them, when one person says something that's unpleasant, instead of taking it and making it about you, pause for a moment and have the person to talk more about what they say, so that we can hear the hurt, we can hear the meaning behind what they said, so that we can understand the person and where they are and what makes them feel or behave the way they do. Right. Versus attacking them back in order to protect ourselves, because that's not going to work at all, and we have seen many cases of that.
Right. People believe that when they're criticized, they are being attacked. And when we're being attacked, we really have no choice but to fight, run away, or freeze.
Yes.
And that's what being attacked is. And the question I want to leave us with, because we just got notified we're going to have a commercial break, is if somebody is critical of you, are you actually being attacked? Are you being attacked? And I'd like you to give it some thought, and we'll reflect on this after our commercial break. But if you can see it as being attacked, then you're going to have one reaction. And if you don't see it as being attacked, then you'll have a different reaction.
And more of this right after this commercial break.
We'll see you in a moment.
Sex is play, sex is celebration, the true glue that keeps an intimate relationship together during good times and bad. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitra Rashidian. I want to ask, how healthy and joyful are your relationships and sex life? Do you and your partner communicate easily and openly about things sexual? Are you able to keep that sexual spark alive in your relationships, free from cultural do's and don'ts, as well as negative early messages and traumas, which can be very challenging? I've spent 20 years helping individuals and couples reap the endless rewards of being more alive, more loving, and much more joyful. Visit me at Psychology Today at researchgate.net or on YouTube. My mission is to help you experience all the things that a healthy and fulfilling sex life brings. Find me on Psychology Today or YouTube, and thanks for listening.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
Join Dr. Mitra and me, Dr. Robert, every Thursday afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. as we discuss methods to help you overcome stress and achieve inner peace on Heart to Heart.
Welcome back from our commercial break. This is Heart to Heart program at KMET 1490 AM, ABC News Radio Live. For those of you just tuning in, our discussion in this program is about self-compassion and how that impacts relationships. And also, please, I want to invite you to please call us 951-922-3532. And do introduce this program to others that you believe may benefit from what we're sharing about. And if you are not comfortable contacting us live, please feel free to use our private information, which are listed at our homepage at KMET, to call us. Also, you see our contact number and emails on the screen if you're watching the program. So I gave our phone number, didn't I? Yes, but let's do it again, 951-922-3532. Thank you.
So where we left off, I wanted to comment, is being criticized and attacked. And so what...
So basically, I think you're talking about how self-compassion originates or not.
How self-compassion...
is originated or not.
Is originated or not.
Yeah. Because if we feel attacked or judged,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
This is something that we have already developed within ourselves.
If we're feeling attacked or judged, we can have self-compassion. What I was going to say is that being attacked, if you think about literally being attacked means that someone else is trying to hurt you or kill you. That's what real attack is, right? So when in our society, I'm going to say 98, 99% of the time, we say that they attacked me, but we're not actually talking that they jumped at me with a knife, or they tried to shoot me, or they took a hammer and were trying to bash me in the head. What we're talking about is words. And so what we say then is through their words, they were trying to hurt me or kill me, right?
Right.
The truth is that with words, we can say things that are hurtful, you never ask me out when I'm able to go out. You always forget to take the trash out. You you prefer to be with your friends than be with me. These are words that are hurtful words, and perhaps the person is trying to hurt you with the words, but are you really being attacked? The person is saying these words, but the question is, do you take it as this person is trying to hurt you, or do you take it as this person is expressing anger or frustration, and that's because they're not getting something that they want? If someone is giving me negative words about myself, you're stupid, you're an idiot, you're a moron. If they're saying those kind of words, then they're labeling me. And then I have the decision whether I want to accept those words as truth. Am I stupid? Am I lazy? Am I a moron? If I accept those words as truth, then I will take in the hurt and I will start to feel angry. And then I will either have to fight with the other person, either physically or verbally, or I'll have to avoid that person, or I will freeze and not know what to do. But if I have a choice as to how I take those words and I say, oh, this is what you think, tell me why you're saying that. And if the person gives me an explanation of what they mean by that, I still have the opportunity to respond to them, not to take in their words personally as though God has spoken down to me, but is there truth to it, and what is the sentiment behind it, and why are you telling me that? The more I'm able to reflect on why you're behaving that way toward me, the more I'm able to keep myself from feeling as though I'm being physically attacked, and to shift into an emotional response rather than a physical or emotional reaction is the purpose of loving communication.
Exactly.
Loving communication is when I am attempting to communicate something to you, and I'm trying to do it in a way that isn't hurtful to you. And if I am trying to hurt you, then you have the choice of saying, you're saying something to me, are you trying to hurt me? And if the person says yes, or yes, you deserve to be hurt, then you say, well, in that case, I don't think we have much to discuss because I don't want to be in communication with someone who's trying to hurt me, right?
Yes, and then if you take the hurt, I think that also calls for self-judgment, that I deserve the hurt.
Yeah, if you take in the hurt, that means that you're agreeing with the hurt.
Right, with the hurt.
If you disagree with the hurt, if you disagree that the person is correct in what they're saying, you can say, I'm not sure why you're telling me that, but maybe if you tell me what's going on more about this, I can understand.
So here's what I say, but what I hear the most, right? They say that when they are at the heat of that, that is uncomfortable, attacking, judging, name calling, communication system, the two sides don't get a chance to become compassionate and to listen and then to reflect and to keep their calm, basically, because once they feel attacked, they attack back, right?
Exactly.
So how can we teach our listeners and audience that, what to do, how to put themselves in a compassionate mode,
right,
so that, when that condition happens, when that attacking and verbal attack and, all of that negativity takes place,
right,
how can they keep themselves away from that attacking mode and go into their compassionate mode?
Right.
I guess, did I
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what I think is that when we feel hurt by another person, we need to first find out whether that person has intentionally harmed us.
Yeah.
Are you saying this because you're trying to hurt me? It's a simple question. Most people assume that the other person is trying to hurt them. What I have found out is that most of the time, the person is saying this because they're feeling hurt, not necessarily because they're wanting to hurt us, but they're feeling hurt and they're defending themselves by trying to hurt us back. But if we find out that the person does in fact want to hurt us, then we have to engage our curiosity. What is it about me that makes you want to hurt me? And if the person gives me a reason like, oh, you should have known this, you didn't do this, you did this, and as a result, I ended up suffering. If there's something I can learn from it and say, oh, you think I should have done this, you wanted me to give more thought to it before I acted, and by my lack of acting, it made you feel as though I don't care about you. And the person says yes, then you say, okay, I can take that in. I can accept that you wanted me to think about it more, and I didn't think about it more, and so in that case, what I want to let you know is that I didn't intentionally hurt you. I didn't think about it, but I didn't intentionally hurt you. Now, finding out whether the person is trying to hurt you is very important. If the person is trying to hurt you, you want to find out why that person is trying to hurt you. If the person isn't trying to hurt you, then you need to understand that as well.
Right.
Because you're going to have a different response to somebody who is hurting you by they're saying things even though and they're not aware that they're hurting you, or that the person is intentionally hurting you. Then you want to find out, what is it that's making you want to hurt me?
Okay.
The more you understand why the other person is acting or reacting the way they are, the more you're able to engage your prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part of your mind. The less you understand about why they're acting the way they're acting, the more your amygdala, which is the fight or flight or freeze response, is going to be engaged. And you're going to assume, and we know assume is ASSUME, to make an ass out of you and me. You're going to assume that this person is trying to hurt you, and then you're going to put your dukes up and try to hurt them back. To not assume means to remain curious about why the other person is acting the way they act. And what I say is emotional growth happens when you are curious and you let go of the judgment, becoming curious rather than judgmental.
Exactly. And also, to penetrate, criticism, for sympathy.
What do you mean?
So instead of we criticize somebody for their behavior, have some, understanding of what's going on.
Well, you can't unless they tell you.
Unless they tell you,
right?
Yes.
And they won't tell you if they're assuming that you should know or that you do know.
Yeah, and then, how we ask, to understand can become a form of criticism as
Correct.
well. Right?
Correct.
Say, why did you do that?
Right.
Why didn't you think about it before?
Right.
So these are all criticizing this is not compassionate. This is not sympathy.
Right. So compassion comes from the recognition that what you want always is to be kind to others and to yourself.
Right.
What you don't want is for others to be unkind to you, or you don't want to be unkind to yourself. Now, are there times when you say to yourself, I don't want to be kind, I want to lash out at myself or at others? And that is the fight, flight, or freeze response that we're trying to recognize is inherent in our being human, but is not coming from the highest place within us.
Exactly. So, when we talk about, compassion and compassionate attitude, compassionate behavior, at first feels, easy, But then again, when people go through the process of it, they actually, they come back and they say, why is self-compassion so tough to practice? See,
Absolutely.
I don't know how to, what you're saying, I don't know how to apply it.
Right.
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to do it. I go back to criticizing. I go back to self-judgment. I go back to, I'm not good enough. I go back, I could never do something right.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah. So when I'm working with somebody in therapy, I tell them, and I tell them not just once, but I tell them many times during our therapeutic relationship, for however long that goes on, I say the process in therapy is we talk about something, and my goal is to help the person become more aware of the things that they are thinking, feeling, and doing that are working, and the things that they're thinking, feeling, and doing that aren't working, without judgment. When you become aware without judgment, then you can engage that prefrontal cortex part of your brain and think it through. And what I say to them is, when we talk about something, for example, let's say assertiveness, somebody's trying to become more assertive. I will talk to them about assertiveness, and I may say something that applies to them and that's helpful to them. In that moment, they get it. What I tell them then is, now they get it, right? And they can repeat it back to me and they can go, yeah, I get it. I say, so now when you walk out the door, how long do you think you'll hold on to it for? And they look at me like, I don't know. And I said, you will hold on to it for a period of time. That period of time may be a minute, maybe an hour, maybe a day. The chances are, if we talk about it one time and you've been struggling with this particular piece of your personality for a month, a year, or 30 years, you're not going to be able to hold on to it and integrate it right away. So you will get it. And then generally at the beginning, if we have a once a week session, by the next week you will have forgotten it. So you get it and then we forget it. Now you're back in the session, we talk about it again. You get it and then you forget it. Talk about it again. You get it and you forget it. Now we talk about it the fourth, fifth, sixth time. Now you get it and now you hold on to it longer, because we've talked about it and you're creating new neuronal connections in the brain. And so suddenly things start, you start to remember that. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's about repeating the cycle.
Yes, yeah. So repetition is the mother of skill.
Well, it's the same way when we go to the gym, we want to strengthen our muscles. So we can't just lift a 10-pound, weight and then just say, okay, here I am, okay, I'm done.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we have to go to the gym for months and days and practice that hard work of making our muscles work so that we can have that sexy arms, and sometimes it even doesn't happen, right?
Well, no, it always happens if you keep at it.
If you keep at it, exactly. But in a short term, it's not going to happen.
No,
right?
but if you're doing it correctly, it will happen. Right. If you're practicing it incorrectly, then you're not going to get the results that you want.
Right. Exactly.
So the idea of getting it and forgetting it, eventually getting it, holding on to a little longer, and eventually you don't have to talk about it anymore because you've integrated it.
Yes.
And we'll talk more about this. We just got notified, right, that we're going to have to take another little break.
And when we come back, we're going to also add about how to find the skill of self-compassion.
We're going to talk more about that. So please stay with us.
Welcome back to our commercial. Mr. Mitra and Dr. Robert here at KMET 1490 AM ABC News Radio Live Heart to Heart program. And we are talking about self-compassion, which we would like to invite you to join us in this amazing conversation about how to be compassionate. I mean, isn't that what we all want? Compassion and more compassion in our life. So our phone number here is 951-922-3532. You can also call us on the numbers and email addresses that are appearing on the screen. And we would like to hear from you, your story, your interest, because we are compassionate about that, right?
Right, absolutely.
So we talked about, how to gain the skill of self-compassion. You also had one more topic to add.
We had another topic?
No, about compassion, right? Okay, well, let's talk about the skill of self-compassion.
The skill, yeah.
Where does it come from? I mean, how do we learn self-compassion to begin with?
Well, in the beginning, there was childhood.
Oh, that thing.
And we all had one.
That thing.
and we learned many things in childhood. So many things, they're uncountable, right? How many things we learned. And we learned by direct messaging. We also learned by modeling, right? The way that we saw other people, especially our parents, who are gods to us when we're tiny, the way we saw them behaving, the way we saw them acting toward each other, and the way they interacted with us and our siblings, if we had siblings. We got many messages, and one of those messages is that we are lovable, we are smart, we are talented, we are attractive, we are cute, we are funny, we're intelligent, so many messages. And obviously I just gave you the positive ones. And of course we can get the opposite. We can get you're not so smart, you're too big for your own britches. We can get messages are about our emotionality, you're overly sensitive. The good old standby that I'm still kind of scratching my head over. You cry and I'll give you something to cry about. It's like, oh my God, why would somebody say that? And yet it's said. And so
well, here's another one. If you do this or if you don't do this, I'm not going to love you.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah. And even the labeling, oh, you're a good boy or you're a good girl, which actually in many cases means that you're compliant.
Right.
Means that you go along with me. You don't give me a hard time. You don't say no to me. And of course, we have internalized that as though that makes us good, which of course it doesn't make us good. It just makes us compliant, right? So there's nothing wrong with complying with somebody, nor is there anything wrong with not complying with somebody. But when you're young and you're little, complying with your parent can be the difference between a smile and a frown, or a reward or a punishment.
And that's the beginning, like you said, that's the beginning of learning how to be obedient versus assertive.
Right. So yeah, obedient, and so in the past, one of the sayings was, children should be seen and not heard, right? That was based on a belief that children didn't have any thoughts worth adults hearing. That children are lesser beings because of their age and because of their experience. And of course, when I think of that, I think of the old fable, The Emperor's New Clothes, right? This was a children's fable, just to remind the audience. I'm sure most of you have heard it, but it's a fable about an emperor who hired some tailors to make him some new clothes, but the tailors didn't have any material to work with, And he said, if you make me clothes that I like, he said, I'm going to reward you handsomely. And if you make clothes that I don't like, I'm going to behead you. So they didn't have the material to make the clothes. So they said, oh, well, we're going to make these clothes out of something that is so fine that only people who are smart and intelligent can see the clothes. So they pretended to make these clothes, and actually there was nothing there, but they convinced the emperor that these were fine clothes, and that the only people that could see them were people of value.
Right.
And the emperor would then go out into the town, and he would be riding around in his carriage naked, but everybody knew that only people who were special and intelligent and wonderfully upper class valued people would be able to see the clothes. So everybody pretended that they could see that he wasn't naked. And then as he's going around in his carriage, smiling and waving benevolently at everyone, one little girl looked up and saw them, and she goes to her mother, "Mommy, why is the emperor naked?" And then all of a sudden you can hear a pin drop, right? Because she recognized the truth. And there's another saying, out of the mouths of babes come words of wisdom. So we now know that children can say things that are we have taken so for granted, but they can also put things together in a way that are so simple and yet profound that we can learn from children as well as
Exactly.
teaching children.
Right. There is, this old phrase, in Persian culture that they say, you want to hear the truth, ask a child.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes. Yeah, because children haven't learned
Right.
to fake it yet.
Right.
Yeah. So going back to how do we learn to be compassionate, uh, it comes from what we observe and the messages that we were given. And it starts with being compassionate with ourselves. And if we were treated in a compassionate way, then we learn to treat ourselves in a compassionate way.
Yes. I mean, I hear from couples when I ask them, if they have seen, uh, what have they seen, within their parents happening? Did they hold hand? Do they hold hand? Did they hug? Did they kiss? Or did they laugh together? Or how were they sitting, watching TV? How did they, sit down together, have breakfast or not, or lunch or dinner?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not surprised for those couples who don't know what compassionate is, or they can act compassionately, to say to me, no, my parents never held hands. No, my parents seldom talked. No, and if they talked, they were fighting.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So this is how we learn about compassion.
Yes, it's how we learn about compassion as well as how we learn about many, many
Many,
things.
many, many things.
Right.
Right?
And these
Yeah.
become unquestioned truths in our lives.
Right.
And it's sort of like we're programmed almost robotically to act that way.
Exactly. Because that's what we believe. And this is how we maintain that emotional cord between ourselves and our parents.
Right. Right.
To just follow their pathway of life.
Right. So we get these messages not just from our parents, we also get them from our culture.
Culture.
Right?
Oh my
One of your
goodness.
favorite words, culture. And we get them from our culture, and our culture has adopted certain beliefs, many beliefs, that just like our parents are imperfect, so are our cultures. So our cultures have adopted these beliefs. We grew up in these cultures. We adopted those beliefs, and until and unless they're questioned, we make the assumption that everybody thinks and feels the way that we do in our culture.
Exactly. Yes. And we know that neuroscientifically speaking, human beings, however we turn out to become, we are a product of our geographical area, the culture that's practiced in that geographical area, and overall our how our parents impact us. So we are a product of our environment altogether, right?
Well, yeah. Actually, we're I wouldn't say we're a product of our environment altogether. I would say that we're very influenced by our environment.
Well, yeah, I mean by the
But
influence that the environment has on us.
right,
Right,
however, all of this is learned.
right.
All of this is learned, which means that those of us who've adapted the question in our mind as, oh, I'm going to learn to question things, and I'm going to learn to stay curious and not just accept things because this is the way they have been done and this is the way I'm told to do it. Those people can free themselves from their culture. Now, can you ever free yourself entirely from your culture? Probably not, but you can free yourself to a large extent if you begin to recognize that some of the things that you've learned are not really things that are working in your best interest or in your relationship's best interest.
I mean, in any culture that we grow up and in any system that we grow up, not everything is negative.
Right.
For us to be able to distinguish between what has worked for us and what has not, by itself is a compassionate approach.
Yes.
We want to keep what is working. Not everything is negative. So understanding that and not covering all the goodness of a system, of a culture, under the umbrella of the areas that is not working is not a fair approach, because we learn so many good things within a culture that we are living in it, whether that's a local culture, extended culture, a foreign culture, any culture. Basically, it gives us a baseline for who we are today, what we are today. So some of that is very good, some of that is beautiful, some of that is amazing. The culture that we're talking about that is can be detrimental to our health, to our mental health, to our relationships, or all those negative things that they are imposed on us, and we take that imposition as the truth about who we are and how to live by that.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that culture can happen at any family, can happen in any system, can happen any part of the world. So these are the type of cultures we're talking about for now.
Yeah. And so one of the most powerful things that happens to us is in our culture we develop prejudice.
Right.
Prejudice is to prejudge. Therefore, we start to think of the world in terms of us and them. Mm-hmm. There's us and then there's them. And them are not like us. Them are different. And we have to then fear them because they're different than us. And we have to judge and condemn them. And while we're doing that to them, they are saying there's us and there's them. And we become the them to their us.
Yes.
So and this happens within a country. This can happen within religion. This can happen between countries, but it also happens between people in relationships, right? You don't think like I think. You look different than me because your skin is a different color. You believe differently than I do because I have this religion and you have that religion.
Even food, I like this food and you have that, you like that
right,
food.
Right. And so what I want to say then is, if from an enlightened point of view, and I've read a lot about people who have become enlightened, and from an enlightened point of view, we are all much more alike than we are different.
Yes.
How is that possible? Well, we all look a lot more alike. I discovered that when I was 8 years old and I was watching a science fiction show, and there came down from another planet creatures with 5 heads, right? 5 heads and 12 limbs. And I looked at them and I go, those are aliens. Those aren't like me. But then I look at our world and I see people on the other side of the world, and they have 1 head and they have 2 eyes and they have 1 nose, and they have sexual needs, and they have food needs, and they want to belong just like I want to belong. Those are people that are like me. We are all much more alike. And when we start focusing on the alikeness, and this is true between countries, but also in relationships, every human being is much more alike than we are different. Men and women are much more alike than they are different. But we can focus on the differences, and there are differences. We can celebrate the differences, or we can say, because you're not like me, you're less than me. And then women can make jokes about men, and men can make jokes about women, as though each sex is better than the other, which of course is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, but we see that it happens. It happens all the time. And, if we take the self-compassion approach, perhaps we can eliminate many of those prejudice, aspects of life.
Mm-hmm.
Many, we can understand and look at and appreciate our differences, and also gain the ability to listen rather than attack back once we feel, attacked, which essentially is not an attacking situation if the person is not doing that intentionally. So we thank you for joining us today. We thank Dr. Jaffe for your beautiful insight.
Oh, thank you for your wonderful sharing of yourself.
Thank you. I feel safe to do that.
Good. Good.
And so we look forward to see you back next week, 4 o'clock, for another episode of Heart to Heart. And please listen to our introduction at 8:40 in the morning at Aaron Sanchez, program. And we appreciate, that he's giving us this time for us to introduce our program early on each day on Thursdays. And until next week, don't forget that all you need is love.
All you need is love.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.